1045 The Team, your home for New York sports. We have got we're going to get smart for a second, Brady. We have an associate professor of psychology at Tufts University with us, Sam Sommers. He's got a great book that he is the co-author of. This is Your Brain on Sports. Sam, why did you write this book? What was important about this book to you?
Well, it was important because you got two people writing this book. You've got me, you've got a college professor who studies and teaches psychology, and you've got John Wertheim, who's executive editor at Sports Illustrated, a sports journalist. And what we wanted to do was put our heads together and sort of tackle the question of all the supposedly crazy stuff that your sports fans, your athletes, your coaches, your front offices do, and say, is it really all that crazy, or is there maybe something we can sort of study about this from a scientific standpoint? Can we learn something about human nature and how we as people make decisions and act more generally by turning our lens on this world of sports?
Sam, we host 20 hours of radio a week, and we're both diehard sports fans. We talk about sports outside of this radio show because we can't get enough of it. How deeply rooted is our love of sports just to basic human psychology?
I mean, it appeals to some pretty basic human motivations in us, right? I mean, I'm in the same category. The day job is not talking about sports, but I squeeze it in with my friends and family and anytime I can. And it's, things like it lets us affiliate. It lets us, there's a tribalism to sports and the teams that we root for and the rituals that are in place with those teams. I mean, it's almost a religious experience for some people. And I know that some folks will roll their eyes at that, but you see reactions even in the brain when they do studies of sort of brain imaging. You see people deriving tremendous amounts of pleasure from the success of the teams they root for, and for that matter, maybe not quite as bright a picture to paint of human nature. We derive a lot of pleasure from the negative things that happen to our rivals as well. And so it does really tap into some pretty basic human drives and motivations.
All right, Sam. Sam Sommers joins us, co-author of the book, This Is Your Brain on Sports. Explain to me why I have loved the Raiders my entire life. And since, 2002, they've been god-awful to the point where, 5 to 6 wins, and I'm jumping up and down like a schoolgirl. Like, why do I suffer with this team when I've never played for them? I could easily go, all right, hey, Giants, let's go. But no, I almost enjoy the pain.
Yeah, that's what we find, and I sympathize, I empathize. I come at this as I don't admit this often in Boston where I live, but I come at this as a Jets fan, so I feel your pain. And,
yeah, you do.
And I'm coming out of the closet with that, but we talk about in the book. It's a little bit like putting together that furniture you buy from IKEA, right? You buy this wooden shorn blat or whatever it is, you bring it home, you've got the dowels and the wood glue and the instructions that don't make sense, you put it together, it's a little bit rickety, it doesn't sit right. To everyone else it looks like a third grader's art project, but to you that thing's a work of art. It's a piece of beauty. You poured your blood, your sweat, your tears into that piece of furniture. You value it more. We do the same thing with sports fans, with sports teams. The team that doesn't win, the Cubs, the Mets until maybe this year, the Jets, the Raiders, any team that plays in Cleveland before LeBron comes back. I mean, those teams, when you pour your heart and soul into it and they don't pay immediate dividends, you almost have to inflate the value of that team, and it must be really important. Otherwise, why would you suffer for it? It's a little bit like how rushing a fraternity or sorority or going through any initiation rite makes you value that group even more. You have to inflate the value of that group. Otherwise, why would you have suffered so much for it?
All right, and Sam, we're your home for the New York Yankees, and now the Yankees are, they're kind of on a downturn. They're not the dynasty they were the late '90s, early 2000s. Why do I feel the need to defend my fandom? You know what I mean? Like, even when they were good, everybody's like, oh, bandwagon. It's like, no, dude, you don't understand. I've suffered with this team. This is my team. Like, why do I have to defend my fandom? I have no choice. I can't just go, whatever. I have to tell you that you're an idiot because you don't think I love the Yankees.
That's right. I mean, there are interesting conversations about when you get to that level of what it means to be a fan. It's not enough to just root for a certain team, sort of the origin story of, well, how long have you rooted for them? Or, I tell people I live in Boston, and I tell people that I'm a Yankees fan. They're like, what do you mean you're a Yankees fan? I was like, well, I was sort of born into it. It was like I was third, fourth, fifth generation. I mean, you don't just move to another town and take another team on because that doesn't sit well with me. And so you hear those kinds of debates, and they do it here in Boston with the so-called pink hat crowd, the folks who show up to the Red Sox games at Fenway now that they're winning. It is interesting, right, that something about seeing Justin Bieber at a Miami Heat game with a Heat hat on, the bandwagon thing doesn't sit well with us, and what it really means to be a fan is a conversation we have a lot of, I think.
Sam Sommers joins us right here on 104.5 The Team.
Sam, so I'm a diehard Seattle fan, and a few years ago, Forbes listed Seattle as the most depressing sports city, and I took a great deal of pride in that. And then and then the Seahawks win the Super Bowl. So part of me is incredibly happy the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. The other part of me, a little sad to have to give up the most depressing sports city title. Is that normal?
Yeah, they screwed it up for you, right? I mean, when John and I were writing this book, we wrote a little bit about his son, who's a Mets fan, a diehard Mets fan, and in typical Mets fashion, they screwed things up for us because they had a good season until at least the World Series rolled around, so we cue the rewrites, and we had to make some changes at the end. But, yeah, I think there's something to that notion that it's part of your identity. I mean, so I think the Cubs are 4-1 favorites to win the World Series this year, and you know if that happens, what it'll be like for Cubs fans. It'll be one of these, now I can die happy moments. But it's never going to be the same to be a Cubs fan if that happens, right? It's never, Bill Murray and everyone down the list, it's never going to be the same. And so there is probably that bittersweet aspect of the suffering and the, Golden State fans probably going through it now. Can you imagine 10 years ago you tell a Warriors fan they'll be on top of the world in basketball, a decade later they'd never believe you. And I'm sure it's thrilling, right? It's a different identity now, and you have to get used to that.
The book is called This Is Your Brain on Sports, The Science of Underdogs, The Value of a Rivalry, and What We Can Learn from the T-Shirt Cannon. Now, Sam Sommers, co-author, joins us. Big Papi, David Ortiz, has said he wants a standing ovation his last time at Yankee Stadium. I was instantly offended. Tell me more about the value of a rivalry.
Rivalry is an amazing thing, and we know about it from a fan standpoint, right? Anyone who's been to a Yankees-Red Sox game, who's, when we talk in other parts of the country, Duke, North Carolina basketball, or Michigan, Ohio State football, or whatever it is. But rivalry does amazing things for the players, the performers themselves. When they do these studies in rugby or British football and soccer, and they actually measure the physiology and the work rate and of the players on the field, you run harder, you work harder, you actually have surges in testosterone when you're playing against your heated arch rival as opposed to just your average game against someone else in the other division. Something about knowing you're pitted against a rival makes you perform better. It's the same thing when you're in a 5K or in a running club. It's the same thing when you're on eBay and you're bidding against, Star Kitten 369, whatever. You know who that person is. All of a sudden you work up an animus and you're more aggressive and you bid more actively. Having an identifiable arch rival elevates our performance. It changes the fans' mentality, but it really changes things for players too.
Sam, one of the side jobs for Brady over here is to pump up the crowd at local college hoops games.
Nice.
What I see here, what we can learn from a T-shirt cannon. What do we learn from Brady when he's firing off that T-shirt cannon?
Man, people, I don't know what your experience is, Brady, but people love them some T-shirt cannon. I mean, it doesn't matter. Your team can... Yeah, your team's down 35 points in the fourth quarter in the midst of a losing season. You bring that T-shirt cannon out, and it's like, the pennant's on the line all of a sudden. It's the World Series. It's unbelievably powerful for two main reasons. Number one, it's free, and number two, it's scarce. So we love free stuff. We'll wait in line at Costco for the free samples, even if we'd never spend money on that stuff on our own. We love free, but there's a scarcity to it, the limited time offer, right? Not everyone gets a T-shirt. If that's the case, who cares? But here comes this thing in the air at you. It's probably XXXL. It's not going to fit you, and it's ugly anyway, but you fight for it. You get one. You've got one of 20. It's almost like a trophy you want to put up on your wall. The T-shirt cannon thing, people dismiss it out of hand as being it's not what sports is about, but man, it's sort of like catnip for human beings. We love free and we love scarce.
Sam Sommers, he's the co-author of This Is Your Brain on Sports. He's also associate professor of psychology at Tufts University. Sam, I feel like this is should be called the guide to dating Jeff Levac. Like every one of my ex-girlfriends is like, why do you love sports so much? Read this book.
That was our goal. Our goal is for you to be able, Jeff, to buy a bunch of these, bring them around, and hand them out to people to explain your own behavior and why it's frustrating to deal with you. But the idea to write this was for people like you and for people like me and John, people who spend our days, whether it's the day job or just as a sort of obsessive hobby, talking about sports and sort of thinking these through with our friends, but also, for the parents out there whose kids are playing youth sports, and for the businesswoman or businessman who's wondering about leadership issues and how to run an organization. There's stuff in the book for all those folks, the sports fans, but also the parents and the coaches and the managers and organizations. That's really what we try to put into the book.
I love it. Can't wait to check it out. Where can I get This Is Your Brain on Sports?
You can find it anywhere. You can get it online at your local booksellers as well. You can get more details at brainonsports.com as well. So a lot of places, pretty much anywhere your finest books are sold.
Books. I like them. Even though I'm a sports junkie, I still read a book occasionally. It happens.
This is a good one. This will be a good one. Like you said, you can hand it out to ex-girlfriends, friends who don't want to talk to you anymore, parents who don't understand you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in my, you know how Derek Jeter allegedly had those gift bags? I'm going to put it in that.
Yeah.
And there you go. Here's your Walmart bag, but in here now is some literature to explain why it didn't work. Here you go.
Sort of like the guidebook, yes, the instruction manual for how to deal with your psyche.
I love it. Sam Sommers, thanks so much, and best of luck with This Is Your Brain on Sports.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks, guys. This was fun.